अनजान बोली लगाने वाला कौन है?
Take a security to headquarters.
Do you have any idea where we're going?
Yeah, sure. I mean...
Hollywood has a graveyard. You just never get to see it. And here's the thing. One of those yards got 15 films in it. In fact, one of those films had an actor that nearly broke her neck on set. Another one bankrupted an entire studio overnight. And one film on this list lost so much money that it literally got a Disney executive fired from their job. These are not just bad movies. These are the most spectacular financial disasters science fiction has ever produced. And the craziest part is, most of these films were supposed to be guaranteed hits. A-list stars, legendary directors, budgets so massive they could fund small countries. But every single one of them crashed so hard that Hollywood is still feeling the damage years later. Let's get started. Number 15. Mortal Engines, 2018. Peter Jackson spent nearly a decade trying to bring Mortal Engines to the screen. He first optioned the rights to Philip Reeves' novel back in 2009, right when the young adult adaptation craze was exploding after Twilight. But the Hobbit trilogy consumed his life for years. By the time he finally circled back, the option was about to expire and he was panicking. So instead of directing it himself, he handed the job to Christian Rivers. Universal co-financed the project alongside Media Rights Capital, pouring over $110 million into production alone before marketing costs. Behind the scenes, the production team built enormous practical sets, including a full recreation of St. Paul's Cathedral that took weeks to construct and was torn down immediately after filming. 140 extras showed up at 3:45 in the morning covered in fake grime for a single processing scene. The concept was genuinely wild. Giant motorized cities roaming a post-apocalyptic wasteland, devouring smaller towns for resources. Critics even admitted the opening chase sequence where London hunts down a tiny settlement was one of the most extraordinary action scenes of the year. But here is where everything fell apart. Warner Brothers and Fox both passed on the project before Universal picked it up. The trailers looked like incomprehensible CGI chaos to anyone unfamiliar with the books. There were no bankable stars. Mortal Engines landed on December 14th, the exact same weekend as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Opening weekend brought in just $7.5 million. Number 14, Ghost in the Shell, 2017.
These ones are still cycling. I had two this morning. Sound or image?
When Paramount and DreamWorks announced that Scarlett Johansson would play Major Motoko Kusanagi in their live-action adaptation of the legendary Japanese manga, the internet erupted. The original Ghost in the Shell was about as Asian as science fiction gets. Spielberg had acquired the adaptation rights nearly a decade earlier and was thrilled about the project. Paramount budgeted over $110 million for production. Then production started, and things got significantly worse. Reports surfaced that the studio had commissioned visual effects tests to digitally alter Johansson's appearance in post-production to make her look more Asian. The same VFX company that aged Brad Pitt in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button was reportedly asked to shift the lead actress's ethnicity using CGI. Paramount confirmed the tests existed, but insisted they were only for a background actor. Multiple independent sources said otherwise. The idea was rejected immediately once executives saw the results, but the damage was already done. Every single interview became a debate about representation instead of the film. Bloggers and fan sites that would normally provide free publicity approached the movie with extreme caution because nobody wanted to appear socially ignorant by promoting it. Ghost in the Shell opened to just $18.6 million domestically. Worldwide gross reached $169 million. Paramount lost at least $60 million. Number 13, Aeon Flux, 2005. Charlize Theron had just won the Academy Award for Monster. She was untouchable. Every studio in Hollywood wanted her name on a project. So when Paramount offered her the lead in a live-action adaptation of Peter Chung's cult MTV animated series Aeon Flux, it looked like the perfect move. And here's the thing. Kusama originally wanted to film this movie in Brasilia, the capital of Brazil, because the city's unique 20th century architecture perfectly matched her vision of the dystopian city of Bregna. The studio overruled her and moved production to Berlin instead. Then on day 9 of filming, everything almost ended permanently. Theron was performing a back handspring on a concrete bridge when she failed to get enough height. She landed directly on her neck. She was paralyzed for a week. Doctors told her she had come within a centimeter of being paralyzed for life. Production shut down for months while she underwent intense physical therapy. The production can't go on without her. And here is the part that makes this story genuinely painful. Theron came back. She returned to set after 3 months of recovery because she wanted to honor her commitment. She finished the film knowing it was doomed. In her own words, she knew from the beginning that Aeon Flux was going to be a flop. Meanwhile, the studio was going through its own chaos. Sherry Lansing, the executive who had greenlit the project, left Paramount during production. The new studio heads Brad Gray and Gail Berman walked in, watched Kusama's cut, and called it a $50 million art movie. They hated it. Kusama was fired during post-production. Then a Paramount executive invited her back with what might be the most backhanded compliment in Hollywood history, telling her he really hated her version of the movie, but believed it or not, he hated the new version even more. Aeon Flux opened in December 2005 and earned just $52 million worldwide. Peter Chung described watching the film in a crowded theater as feeling helpless, humiliated, and sad. Number 12. Speed Racer, 2008. The Wachowskis had just delivered the Matrix trilogy, a franchise that grossed over $1 billion worldwide and permanently changed how action movies look. Warner Brothers would have greenlit almost anything they wanted to make next. So when the siblings said they wanted to adapt a 1960s Japanese cartoon about a kid who drives really fast cars, the studio handed them $120 million and Final Cut privileges. Before production, producer Joel Silver had spent 20 years and roughly $20 million trying to get a Speed Racer film made, cycling through directors like Alfonso Cuarón, Gus Van Sant, and J.J. Abrams, and stars like Johnny Depp and Vince Vaughn before the Wachowskis finally committed. The entire film was shot in 60 days against green screen at Babelsberg Studios in Potsdam. Every single frame of every race, every environment, every crowd sequence was constructed digitally. The Wachowskis used a layering technique that kept both the foreground and background in simultaneous sharp focus, designed to replicate the visual logic of anime. They called the style poptimistic photo anime. Nobody in Hollywood had ever attempted anything like it at that scale. Despite all these, Speed Racer debuted to just $18.5 million. Worldwide, it crawled to $93 million. The total loss, factoring in marketing, was well over $100 million. Number 11. Stealth, 2005. In the mid-2000s, Sony spent $135 million on a film about an AI fighter jet that goes rogue after being struck by lightning, and the result was so thoroughly forgotten that learning about it for the first time feels like discovering a classified military document. Initially, everything about Stealth was right on paper. Rob Cohen directed. The cast looked bulletproof. Jamie Foxx, Josh Lucas, Jessica Biel. Sony was so confident they gave the production access to the USS Abraham Lincoln for filming, with the full cooperation of the United States Navy. Additional shooting locations spanned Thailand, Australia, and New Zealand. The marketing budget pushed total costs toward $200 million. Then Stealth opened and everyone's expectation was doomed in no time. Behind the scenes, the production built a $2 million, 100,000-ton flight simulator called Gimbal that could spin, flip, and slam its human passengers with enormous force. It was custom designed with a wider range of motion than any cockpit simulator used in film before. Jessica Biel was the only actor who did not get motion sickness from riding it. Over 800 visual effects shots were planned around the gimbal sequences alone. Stealth opened to just $13 million, finishing fourth for the weekend. Fox later admitted he hated the film and felt uncomfortable lying about it during promotion. He described it publicly as a bad movie he worked on for 6 weeks. Number 10. Titan AE 2000. This is the movie that killed a studio, not metaphorically, literally. The Monday after Titan AE opened in theaters, Fox shut down the Phoenix animation studio that had made it. Here's the backstory. Titan started life as a live-action science fiction film at 20th Century Fox in the late 1990s, with a script that bounced between writers. Fox spent over $30 million in early development with nothing to show for it. The original director Art Vitello was fired. The project was dying. Then Fox chairman Bill Mechanic faced a brutal choice. He handed Titan AE to animation directors Don Bluth and Gary Goldman and told them to turn a failed live-action concept into a cutting-edge animated feature. But here's the thing. Bluth and Goldman were given a production budget of $75 million and just 19 months to finish the film. In fact, they had to start completely over while battling Fox's creative executives the entire way. The concept was genuinely extraordinary. Earth is destroyed in the opening minutes by an alien race made of pure energy. A young man, voiced by Matt Damon, must find a hidden spaceship carrying the technology to build a new planet. Fox partnered with Hasbro for a toy line, Dark Horse for comics, and Penguin for novelizations. A video game was already in development. Then, in February 2000, months before the film even released, Fox fired 2/3 of the 320 employees at the Phoenix studio. Over 300 animators lost their jobs. Much of the remaining animation had to be outsourced to independent companies. Titan AE opened to just $9.3 million. 10 days after release, Fox shut down the Phoenix animation studio permanently. Number 9. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, 2017. When Luc Besson was working on The Fifth Element back in the 90s, the comic's own illustrator Jean-Claude Mézières asked Besson directly why he was making that film instead of Valerian. Besson's answer was simple: the technology did not exist yet. Then Avatar came out in 2009 and everything changed. Besson looked at what James Cameron accomplished and realized the tools had finally caught up to his vision. So he did something almost unheard of in modern cinema. He financed the movie himself. His company Europa Corp assembled $180 million independently. No major Hollywood studio was involved. This was the most expensive European film and the most expensive independent film ever made. Unfortunately, it was also the most expensive financial disaster in modern Hollywood. Behind the scenes, the visual effects team produced over 2,500 shots. Besson sold $80 million worth of distribution rights in a single day at Cannes in 2015, filling a room with 200 buyers and presenting concept art and a script under armed guard. Then everything started going wrong. The US distributor Relativity went bankrupt, forcing Europa Corp to find a new partner in STX. The release date landed on July 21, 2017, the same weekend as Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. Critics immediately attacked the chemistry between the two leads. Audiences could not connect emotionally to the characters despite the extraordinary visuals surrounding them. Valerian opened to just $17 million domestically, finishing 5th at the box office. Number 8. Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, 1987. Christopher Reeve did not want to make another Superman movie. After the disaster of Superman 3, he publicly swore off the franchise. Then Cannon Films came calling with an offer he could not refuse. They gave him a bigger salary, creative input on the screenplay, and agreed to produce his passion project, Street Smart, as part of the deal. Reeve pitched a storyline about nuclear disarmament inspired by his frustration with Ronald Reagan's military buildup and the collapse of the Reykjavik summit. The studio accepted. He even directed some second unit scenes. For a brief moment, it looked like Superman might matter again. Then Cannon did what Cannon always did. They gutted the budget. The film was originally planned at $36 million, with most of that contributed by Warner Brothers for distribution rights. Cannon slashed it to $17 million and funneled the rest into the nearly 30 other projects they had running simultaneously. The filming crews and visual effects team's first 3 Superman films were replaced with cheaper alternatives. In fact, a scene scripted to take place on 42nd Street, walking toward the United Nations, had to be filmed at an industrial park in the rain with 100 extras, no cars, and a dozen pigeons thrown in for atmosphere. Reeve later described the production as simply a catastrophe from start to finish. A 45-minute subplot involving a second villain, a Bizarro-style prototype nuclear man, was filmed, edited, and then completely removed after disastrous test screenings. The finished cut barely made sense. Superman 4 opened on over 1,500 screens and earned just $15.6 million domestically. Reeve called it the worst decision of his career. Number 7. Battlefield Earth, 2000. Travolta had spent years trying to get Battlefield Earth made. The source material was a 1,000-page science fiction novel by Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard, published in 1982. MGM, Fox, and Warner Brothers all passed on the project due to concerns about the script and Hubbard's connection to Scientology. Travolta eventually landed at Franchise Pictures, a small independent company run by a man named Eli Samaha, who specialized in rescuing stalled celebrity passion projects and making them for a fraction of their originally quoted budgets. Behind the scenes, the financing structure was quietly criminal. Samaha told the German distribution company, Entertainment, that the budget would be $55 million. By March 2000, the number given to Entertainment shareholders had risen to $80 million. A lawsuit later revealed the actual budget was $44 million, and over $30 million had been fraudulently embezzled by Franchise Pictures through fake deferments and inflated charges. Following the film's failure, the FBI began investigating whether independent production companies had systematically inflated film budgets to defraud investors. Battlefield Earth grossed just $29.7 million worldwide. Franchise Pictures was eventually sued into bankruptcy. Number 6. Cloud Atlas, 2012. There is a moment during the production of Cloud Atlas where Warner Brothers called the Wachowskis' agent to say the deal was dead. The studio was pulling all its funding. The movie was finished. The Wachowskis had been on their way to meet Tom Hanks when the call came through. Hanks heard what happened, sat down and said, "Let's do it, I'm in. When do we start?" That decision kept one of the most ambitious films of the 21st century alive. The budget landed around $102 million. The cast was extraordinary. Tom Hanks, Halle Berry, Hugh Grant, Hugo Weaving, Jim Broadbent, Ben Whishaw, Susan Sarandon, and Duna Bay each played multiple roles across different timelines, races, and genders. On set, Halle Berry broke her foot 2 days before filming began, forcing a complete schedule overhaul. Hanks personally nursed her between takes, bringing her coffee and soup and staying by her side because she could barely move. The marketing was insane. The Wachowskis had to break their famous no-press policy for the first time specifically to promote this film, producing a 6-minute trailer they personally wrote, shot, and edited. Despite all these, the film opened to just $9.6 million domestically. Number 5. Tomorrowland, 2015. Brad Bird turned down Star Wars Episode 7 to make this movie. He believed more in an original science fiction story inspired by Walt Disney's vision of the future. Disney believed in it too. They paid writer Damon Lindelof a 7-figure deal to develop the script under the working title 1952. George Clooney was brought in as the lead. Hugh Laurie signed on as the villain. The plan was to launch a new franchise tied directly to the Tomorrowland sections of Disney's theme parks. This was supposed to be the studio's flagship original tentpole for 2015, but the marketing campaign made a critical mistake. It tried to keep the premise a secret, mimicking the mystery box approach that had worked for J.J. Abrams on Lost and the early Star Trek reboots. That single move ruined everything completely. The problem was that audiences needed a reason to care before they could be intrigued by the mystery. Trailers showed beautiful futuristic cities and hints of hidden dimensions, but never clearly communicated what the movie was actually about. Tomorrowland grossed just over $209 million worldwide. Disney lost an estimated $140 million. Number 4. The Adventures of Pluto Nash, 2002. The Adventures of Pluto Nash had been in development since the 1980s. That is not a typo. A script called Pluto Nash circulated Hollywood for over 15 years, changed hands, changed directors, changed studios, and survived every reasonable opportunity to be killed quietly. Various directors, including Rick Rosenthal and Peter Feynman, were attached at different points, and stars including Harrison Ford were rumored to have been considered for the lead role. Eddie Murphy eventually took it. He was paid $20 million for the privilege. Behind the scenes, Murphy demanded the script be played completely straight, promising he would bring the comedy himself through performance. Director Ron Underwood later admitted openly that he knew during production the film did not have the wit he wanted. A studio had to be literally built from scratch in Montreal to accommodate the production, as the city at the time had no studio infrastructure large enough for a film of this scale. That cost real money before a single frame had been shot. After terrible test screenings, the film was pulled from the release calendar in April 2001. The movie sat on the shelf for 2 years. During that time, costly reshoots inflated the budget to $100 million. Murphy himself financed many of the reshoots and wrote and directed several new scenes during the period the film was in limbo. The Adventures of Pluto Nash opened and grossed just $2.1 million across 2,300 theaters. Number 3. Waterworld, 1995. Before a single frame of Waterworld was shot, Steven Spielberg called director Kevin Reynolds and said 4 simple words: "Do not shoot water." Reynolds did not listen. Neither did Kevin Costner. Between the two of them, they turned a $100 million movie into the most expensive film ever made. The original budget was approved by Universal at $100 million with 96 shooting days scheduled. Then everything went wrong at once. The production shot almost entirely on water off the coast of Hawaii, using floating sets that had to be built, anchored, and maintained in open ocean conditions. The central floating atoll set cost $22 million alone, weighed over 1,000 tons, and required every piece of steel used in its construction to be flown in from the mainland. A hurricane sank the slave colony set while a second unit was still filming with stuntmen. Equipment damage accumulated. Delays compounded. The scheduled 96-day shoot extended to 166 days. During production, stunt coordinators nearly died during action sequences. Child actress Tina Majorino and Jean Triplehorn nearly drowned when a section of the set's bowsprit snapped during filming. Costner himself had to be rescued by helicopter after his trimaran drifted out to sea with him lashed to the mast during a sequence. Crew members suffered seasickness so severe that boats had to shuttle people back to shore between takes. And here's the thing, every one of these disasters was so severe that it reached the media even before the film even opened. The media coverage was so relentlessly negative that audiences arrived at theaters already expecting a disaster before they saw a single frame. When Waterworld opened, it earned just $21 million domestically. Number 2. John Carter, 2012. Here's an interesting fact that sounds unbelievable. The source material for John Carter is older than Hollywood itself. Edgar Rice Burroughs published A Princess of Mars in 1912. The novel's concepts of planetary warfare, alien civilizations, and a human hero transported to another world directly inspired Star Wars, Avatar, and decades of science fiction that followed. Disney believed they were adapting the grandfather of the entire genre. They handed the project to Andrew Stanton. But then, Stanton treated the production like a Pixar movie, scrapping footage and ordering reshoots on a scale that made executives deeply uncomfortable. The budget climbed past $250 million. Then Disney spent over $100 million more on a global marketing campaign that managed to confuse almost everyone who saw it. And here's the thing. The original title of this film was John Carter of Mars. But the previous year, another Disney film set on Mars had bombed catastrophically. Executives panicked. They stripped "of Mars" from the title, leaving audiences with a generic name that communicated absolutely nothing about the film's genre, setting, or story. John Carter opened to $30.2 million domestically. Disney took a $200 million write-down within 2 weeks. Number 1. Mars Needs Moms, 2011. Mars Needs Moms was produced by Image Movers Digital. The studio believed motion capture technology was the future of animated filmmaking. Zemeckis was the visionary. Disney was the money. The budget reportedly reached $150 million before marketing. The technology was cutting edge. The premise was designed for families. Aliens abduct a boy's mother, and he travels to Mars to rescue her. Simple, emotional, built for the widest possible audience. But audiences found the animation deeply unsettling. Before production, actor Seth Green spent 6 weeks in a motion capture suit performing Milo's character, only for his voice to be dubbed over after the studio determined it sounded too mature for the role. The process was exhausting and expensive by design. Every human movement required live performance, costume, and full motion capture rigging before a single animated frame existed. The performance capture characters fell directly into what many later called the uncanny valley. Mars Needs Moms opened on March 11, 2011, to $6.9 million. Disney's estimated loss exceeded $130 million. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Image Movers Digital, the entire motion capture studio Zemeckis had built, was shut down. Disney closed the facility permanently, laying off the entire staff. If this countdown kept you watching, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me which bomb on this list shocked you the most. See you in the next video.